All right, this is a reading of a short story by Zora Neale Hurston called Drenched in Light. You icy Watts, get on off in that gatepost and break up this yard. The little brown figure perched upon the gatepost looked yearningly up the gleaming shell road that led to Orlando and down the road that led to Sanford and shrugged her thin shoulders. This heat kindling on Grandma Potts' already burning ire. Lord of mercy, she screamed in rage. Here, Joel, give me that wash stick. I'll show that limb of Satan she can't shake herself at me. If she ain't down by the time I gets there, I'll break her down in the lines. Oh, Grandma, I see Miss George and Jim Robinson coming, and I wanted to wave at 'em, the child said petulantly. You just wave that rake at this here yard, madam, or else I'll take you down the buttonhole lower. You's too ominous jumping up in everybody's face that pass. This struck the child in a very sore spot, for nothing pleased her so much as to sit atop a gatepost and hail the passing vehicles on their way south to Orlando or north to Sanford. That white shell road was her great attraction. She raced up and down the stretch of it that lay before her gate like a round-eyed puppy hailing gleefully all travelers. Everybody in the country, white and colored, knew little Isis Watts, the joyful. The Robinson brothers, white cattlemen, were particularly fond of her and always extended a stirrup for her to climb up behind one of them for a short ride or let her try to crack the long bull whips and yee-hoo at the cows. Grandma Potts went inside and Isis literally waved the rake at the chaws of ribbon cane that lay so bountifully about the yard, in company with the knots and peelings with a thick sprinkling of peanut hulls. The herd of cattle in their envelope of gray dust came alongside and Isis dashed out to the nearest stirrup and was lifted up. Hello there, Snidlets. I was wondering where you was, said Jim Robinson as she snuggled down behind him in the saddle. They were almost out of danger zone when Grandma emerged. You Isis, she bawled. The child slid down on the opposite side from the house and executed a flank movement through the corn patch that brought her into the yard from behind the privy. You little Haitian, where you been? Out in the backyard, Isis lied, and did a cartwheel and a few fancy steps on her way to the front again. If you don't get to that yard, I'm going to make a mummic out of you. Isis observed that Grandma was cutting a fancy assortment of switches from peach, guana, and cherry trees. She finished the yard by raking everything under the edge of the porch and began to romp with the dogs, those lean, floppy-eared coon hounds that all country folks kept. But Grandma vetoed this also. Icy, you sit down on that porch. A great big 11-year-old gal racing and romping like that, sit down. Isis impatiently flung herself upon the steps. Get up off of them steps, you aggravating limb, before I get the hickories to you, and set yourself on that chair. Isis petulantly arose and sat down as violently as possible in the chair, but slid down until she all but sat upon her shoulder blades. Now look at you, Grandma screamed. Put your knees together and get off in that your backbone. Lord, you know this hellion is going to make me stomp her insides out. Isis sat bolt upright as if she wore a ramrod down her back and began to whistle. Now there are certain things that Grandma Potts felt no one of this female persuasion should do. One was to sit with the knees separated, setting brazen as she called it. Another was whistling, another playing with boys. Neither must a lady cross her legs. Up she jumped from her seat to get the switches. So you's whistling in my face, huh? She glared till her eyes were beady and Isis bolted for safety. But the noon hour brought John Watts, the widowed father, and this excused the child from sitting for criticism. Being the only girl in the family, of course she must wash the dishes, which she did in intervals between frolics with the dogs. She even gave Jake, the puppy, a swim in a dishpan by holding him suspended above the water that reeked of pot liquor, just high enough so that his feet would be immersed. The deluded puppy swam and swam without ever crossing the pan, much to his annoyance. Hearing Grandma, she hurriedly dropped him on the floor, which she tracked up with feet wet with dishwater. Grandma took her patching and settled down in the front room to sew. She did this every afternoon and invariably slept in the big red rocker with her head lolled back over the back, the sewing falling from her hand. Isis had crawled under the center table with its red plush cover with little round balls for fringe. She was lying on her back, imagining herself various personages. She wore trailing robes, golden slippers with blue bottoms. She rode white horses with flaring pink nostrils to the horizon, for she still believed that to be Land's End. She was picturing herself gazing over the edge of the world into the abyss when the spool of cotton fell from Grandma's lap and rolled away under the whatnot. Isis drew back from her contemplation of the nothingness at the horizon and glanced up at the sleeping woman. Her head had fallen far back. She breathed with the regular snark intake and soft exhaust. But Isis was a visual-minded child. She heard the snores only subconsciously, but she saw straggling beard on Grandma's chin, trembling a little with every snark and They were long gray hairs curled here and there against the dark brown skin. Isis was moved with pity for her mother's mother. Poor Grandma need a shave, she murmured, and set about it. Just then Joel, next older than Isis, entered with a can of bait. Come on, Icy, let's we all go fishing. The perch is biting fine in Blue Sink. Shh, cautioned his sister. I got to shave Grandma. Who say so? Joel asked, surprised. Nobody don't have to tell me. Look at her chin. No lady don't wear no whiskers if they can help it. But Grandma getting old and she don't know how to shave like me. The conference adjourned to the back porch, lest Grandma wait. Oh, Icy, you don't know nothing about shaving at all. But a man like me, I do so know. You do not. I'm going to shave him myself. No, you won't neither, Smarty. I saw it first and thought it all up first, Icy declared and ran to the calico-covered box on the wall above the wash basin and seized her father's razor. Joel was quick and seized the mug and brush. Now, Isis cried defiantly, I got the razor. Goody, 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 pussycat. I got the brush and you can't shade our lather, see? I know more than you, Joel retorted. Ah, who don't know that? Isis pretended to scorn, but seeing her progress blocked for lack of lather, she compromised. I know. Let's we all shave her. You lather and I shave. This was agreeable to Joel. He made mountains of lather and anointed his own chin and the chin of Isis and the dog, splashed the walls, and at least was persuaded to lather Grandma's chin. Not that he was loath, but he wanted his new plaything to last as long as possible. Isis stood on one side of the chair with the razor clutched cleaver fashion. The niceties of razor handling had passed over her head. The thing with her was to hold the razor, sufficient in itself. Joel splashed on the lather in great gobs and Grandma awoke. For one bewildered moment, she stared at the grinning boy with the brush and mug, but sensing another presence, she turned to behold the business face of Isis in the razor clutching hand. Her jaw dropped, and Grandma, forgetting years in rheumatism, bolted from the chair and fled the house screaming. She's going to tell Papa, Isis. You didn't have no business with his razor. He gonna lick your hide, Joel cried, running to replace mug and brush. You too, chucklehead, you too, retorted Isis. You was playing with his brush and put it all over the dogs. I seen you put it on Ned and Beulah. Isis shaved some slivers from the back jam with the razor and replaced it in the box. Joel took his bait and pole and hurried to Blue Sink. Isis crawled under the house to brood over the whipping she knew would come. She had meant well. But sounding brass and tinkling cymbal drew her forth. The local lodge of the Grand United Order of Odd Fellows, led by a brand thudding band, was marching in full regalia down the road. She had forgotten the barbecue and log rolling to be held today for the benefit of the new hall. Music to Isis meant motion. In a minute, razor and whipping forgotten, she was doing a fair imitation of the Spanish dancer she had seen in a medicine show some time before. Isis' feet were gifted. She could dance most anything she saw. Up, up went her spirits, her brown little feet doing all sorts of intricate things in her body in rhythm, hand curving above her head, but the music was growing faint. Grandma nowhere in sight. She stole out of the gate, running and dancing after the band. Then she stopped. She couldn't dance at the carnival. Her dress was torn and dirty. She picked a long stem daisy and thrust it behind her ear. But the dress, no better. Oh, an idea. In the battle round top trunk in the bedroom. She raced back to the house, then happier, raced down the white dusty road to the picnic grove, gorgeously clad. People laughed good-naturedly at her. The band played and Isis danced because she couldn't help it. A crowd of children gathered admirably about her as she wheeled lightly about, hand on hip, flower between her teeth, in the red and white fringe of the tablecloth, Grandma's new red tablecloth that she wore in lieu of a Spanish shawl, trailing in the dust. It was too ample for her meager form, but she wore it like a gypsy. Her brown feet twinkled in and out of the fringe. Some grown people joined the children about her. The grand exalted rulers rose to speak. The band was hushed, but Isis danced on, the crowd clapping their hands for her. No one listened to the exalted one, for little by little the multitude had surrounded the brown dancer. An automobile drove up to the crowd and halted. Two white men and a lady got out and pushed into the crowd, suppressing mirth discreetly behind gloved hands. Isis looked up and waved them a magnificent hail and then went on dancing until Grandma had returned to the house, and Miss Isis and straightway sought her at the festivities, expecting to find her in her soiled dress, shoeless, gaping at the crowd, but what she saw drove her frantic. Here was her granddaughter dancing before a gaping crowd in her brand new red tablecloth and reeking of lemon extract, for Isis had added the final touch to her costume. She must have perfume. Isis saw Grandma and bolted. She heard her cry, "My God, my brand new tablecloth I just bought from Orlando," as she fled the crowd and into the woods. She followed the little creek until she came to the ford, and a ruddy wagon road that led to Apopka and lay down on the cool grass at the roadside. The April sun was quite hot. Misery, and woe settled upon her, and the child wept. She knew another whipping was in store for her. "Oh, I wish I could die. Then Grandmom and Papa would be so sorry they beat me so much. I believe I'll run away and never go home no more. I'm going to drown myself in the creek." Her woe grew attractive. Isis got up and waded into the water. She routed out a tiny gator and a huge bullfrog. She splashed and sang, enjoying herself immensely. The purr of a motor struck her ear, and she saw a large, powerful car jolting along the ruddy road towards her. It stopped at the water's edge. "Well, I declare it's our little gypsy," exclaimed the man at the wheel. "What are you doing here now?" "I'm killing myself," Isis declared dramatically, "'cause Grandma beats me too much." There was a hearty burst of laughter from the machine. "You'll last some time the way you are going about it. Is this the way to Maitland? We want to go to the Park Hotel." Isis saw no longer any reason to die. She came up out of the water, holding up the dripping fringe of the tablecloth. "No, indeedy, you go to Maitland by the Shell Road. It goes by my house, and turn off at Lake Sibylla on to the clay road that takes you right to the door." "Well," went on the driver, smiling furtively, "could you quit dying long enough to go with us?" "Yes, sir," she said thoughtfully. "I want to go with you." The door of the car swung open. She was invited to a seat beside the driver. She had often dreamed of riding in one of these heavenly chariots, but never thought she would, actually. "Jump in then, Madam Tragedy, and show us. We lost ourselves after we left your barbecue." During the drive, Isis explained to the kind lady who smelt faintly of violets and to the indifferent men that she was really a princess. She told them about her trips to the horizon, about the trailing gowns, the gold shoes with blue bottoms. She insisted on the blue bottoms. The white charger, the time she was Hercules and had slain numerous dragons and sundry giants. At last, the car approached her gate, over which stood the umbrella china berry tree. The car was abreast of the gate and had all but passed when Grandma spied her glorious tablecloth lying back against the upholstery of the Packard. "You I see," she bawled. "You little wretch, you come here this instant." "That's me," the child confessed, mortified, to the lady on the rear seat. "Oh, Sewell, stop the car. This is where the child lives. I'd hate to give her up, though." "Do you want to keep me?" Isis brightened. "Oh, I wish I could, you shining little morsel. Wait, I'll try to save you a whipping this time." She dismounted with the gaudy lemon-flavored culprit and advanced to the gate where Grandma stood glowering, switches in hand. "You going to catch it from your head to your heels, my lady. Just come in here." "Why, good afternoon," she accosted the furious grandparent. "You're not going to whip this poor little thing, are you?" the lady asked in conciliatory tones. "Yes, ma'am." She's the wussest little link that ever draw a breath. Just look at my new tablecloth. That ain't never been washed. She done traipsed all over the woods, a dancing and a prancing in it. She done took a razor to me today, and Lord knows what more. Isis clung to the white lady fearfully. I wasn't going to hurt Grandma Miss. I was just going to shave her whiskers for her because she old and can't. The white hand closed tightly over the little brown one that was quite soiled. She could understand a voluntary act of love, even though it miscarried. Now, Miss, I didn't get the name. How much did your tablecloth cost? One whole big silver dollar down in Orlando. Ain't had it a week yet. Now here's $5 to get another one. The little thing loves laughter. I want her to go into the hotel and dance in that tablecloth for me. I can stand a little light today. Oh, yes'm, Grandma cut in. Everything's all right. Shows she can go, yes'm. The lady went on. I want brightness, and this Isis is joy itself while she's drenched in light. Isis, for the first time in her life, felt herself appreciated and danced up and down in ecstasy of joy for a minute. Now behave yourself, Icy, over at that hotel with the white folks, Grandma cautioned, pride in her voice, though she strove to hide it. Lord, ma'am, that gal keeps me so fractious I don't know my head from my feet. I ought to comb her head, too, before she go with y'all. No, don't bother. I like her as she is. I don't think she'd like it either, being combed and scrubbed. Come on, Isis. Feeling that Grandma had been somewhat squelched did not distract from Isis' spirit at all. She pranced over to the waiting motor and this time seated herself on the rear seat between the sweet smiling lady and the rather aloof man in gray. I'm going to stay with you all, she said with a great deal of warmth and snuggled up to her benefactress. Want me to sing a song for you? There, Helen, you've been adopted, said the man with a short, harsh laugh. Oh, I hope so, Harry. She put her arm about the red draped figure at her side and drew it close until she felt the warm puffs of the child's breath against her side. She looked hungrily ahead of her and spoke into space rather than to anyone in the car. I want a little of her sunshine to soak into my soul. I need it. The end.